Live from Madison, Illinois, we welcome race fans one and all to the iRacing Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series for tonight's season finale. It's the Trader Joe's 200 at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. My name is Ola Rempel. I've got Alfonso Dixon and Brian Britt beside me up in the broadcast booth, and we get set for what could be an epic championship showdown between Josh Schaffner and Matt DiCianni. DiCianni enters this race 19 points clear of the Corn Master, but we'll see what Schaffner will be able to do tonight to see if he can potentially topple that gap. I have a feeling, though, stage is going to be as important as ever exiting tonight's race. Well, Brian, I'll come to you first with this one, and I'll say it outright. You got any favors as to who might win this title?
Well, I think I have a favorite who's going to win the race. I think the title here, I don't know. It's up in the air here. I mean, Josh Schaffner, always a remarkable talent, but you can never count out Matt DiCianni. I'm sure that he has a very good car underneath him. I think it's going to be an interesting battle here for that, points position to see who wins this, championship. I mean, man, I'm excited.
And Al, what's your thoughts as we get set to exit qualifying and enter tonight's 160-lap race?
Well, I'll tell you what, Nolan, my thoughts are that I'm going to defer my option until the third stage.
So same as always then for you, I'm assuming. Seems to be the very common theme that we're starting to see here. So I'm personally thinking it's going to be in the hands of DiCianni. Yes, Schaffner has been the quicker of the two drivers, but DiCianni has always been able to stay just close enough to be able to mitigate his losses and still has that 19-point gap entering tonight's race. If you don't count the stages, that would mean that if Schaffner were to finish second place, which doesn't carry that 5-point bonus, he would need for our man DiCianni to be finishing second to last to just tie up the point standings, let alone actually pull out in front. Now, obviously, stages will be where that really changes over the course of the night, depending on how these stages play out. It's going to be a long night. Stages at laps 30 and 65. That's a good 20 points up on the boards with only a 19-point gap. Schaffner would have to hope that DiCianni, well, it doesn't score any stage points. That would make this a heads-up race in that third and final stage. 30 seconds left on the clock. So far, 12 of the 21 drivers tonight have set qualifying times. 10 of those times separated by less than a second. The other two up to 2 seconds out. Slowest of those being that of Kenny Powell with a 35.125. Make that the likes now of James Oxford with a 35.196. Few seconds left on qualifying. We're going to wrap this session up, and we get set to roll into the starting grid for the Trader Joe's 200. But first, before anything else, it's time for that national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of
The night time is the right time. Remember what I told all my drivers? Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time. Drivers, start your engines!
Starting on pole position for tonight's Trader Joe's 200, going to be the likes of Clayton Hoffman with Joseph Lester beside him on the front row. Josh Schaffner sits on third place with Greg Wychinski, his teammate, beside him on row number 2. Brian Johnson, another G&G driver, going to be down in 5th with Mark Sanchez in 6th. Jeff Barnes sits 7th with Jeffrey Souza all the way back in 8th. Matt DiCiani, currently our second points driver in shot for the title and the points leader entering tonight's race, starts some ways back for Schaffner in 9th. Al Kozlowski rounds out the top 10, Brian.
Kenny Powell going to be starting in 11th place. James T. Oxford in 12th. 13th, Andrew Grisbaum. 14th, Thomas O'Hara. 15th, Wayne Grossi. 16th, Paul Olson. 17th, Andrew Layton. 18th, Kendall Lavron. 19th, Derek Jacobs. And 20th, Robert Pattengale. And I do believe that is our 20-car field here. Of course, we see Alfonso Nixon, but he is actually up here in the broadcast booth with us. So that is a 20-car field. Nice even number here for Gateway tonight, Nolan.
The size of an F1 grid at that. So nice round numbers. That's what you like to see for a championship finale. Now, I think it's about time to ask that question again. Who might be able to have that advantage? I mentioned before that this could be one of those races where qualifying position is everything. And if that ends up being the case, DiCiani is in a lot of trouble starting back in 9th place compared to Josh Schaffner. If that stays the way it is until the end of stage number 1, that's already 7 points that DiCiani's lost, dragging in that gap to just 13 points and exiting the first 30 laps of this race. So he has got to hope that he works his way a little bit further up and Schaffner falls a little bit further back.
Yeah, but
one thing about it too. I'm sorry, Big Alan, go ahead.
Yeah, but unfortunately, though, no, the problem with this track is track position is everything. So the fact that he is that far back, he's going to have to keep himself out of trouble and keep himself up to the front of that pack in order to be able to be in the conversation for later on, Brian.
Yeah, definitely going to be wanting to be in the conversation. I mean, this is definitely a tricky place to make passes at. Now, I think, getting that momentum off the corner, you're going to see a lot of these guys defending on the high side, and it's going to be so difficult to make those passes happen. So I think Josh Schaffner right now has the clear advantage. I mean, Matt DiCiani is going to have to try to work his way through this field.
It's a very tough racetrack, especially to pass at, and the different banking and different radiuses in both corners don't help that. Turns 1 and 2 have a tighter radius, but it is banked at 11 degrees. It's a faster corner. Turns 3 and 4, it has a wider radius. You'd think it'd be faster, but it's not because it's only banked at 9 degrees. And trust me, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, 2 degrees, and on a normal track, it wouldn't be. But when you're on a track like this, where you have different radiuses, you're going to notice that banking difference really, really quickly. Real quick, I'll start with you, Al, and then we'll move on to Brian. What do you think we can expect coming into these first 30 laps for stage 1?
Well, hopefully these drivers will take advantage of the opportunity to collect that precious fuel and tire data. Be patient, not rush into turn 1. Give each other plenty of space. That way we can have hopefully a green flag of stage 1, Brian.
Yeah, definitely hope so. As here comes the green flag, and the field's going to be in the hands of Clayton Hoffman. Here, as I do believe he's going to wait until that green flag actually goes waving. Joseph Lester, great job for him in qualifying, up to second now, and there is the green flag.
Already wheel spin from that Rusty's number 95. Very familiar looking car to a certain film made by a certain film company. All the way back in 2005. Clayton Hoffman leads the field through turns 1 and 2. Schaffner clears for third. DiCiani still trying to battle, but he is still sitting. In fact, he's actually lost spots. DiCiani down to 10th, so it's not the start he's wanted to have, and he's going to fall out back to 11th here. That's the exact opposite that DiCiani wanted to have happen for the opening laps.
Yeah, but I think Nolan, DiCiani needs to do just what he's doing, kind of fall back, allow this field to stabilize. These guys are going to get really racy here as we're being led into this second turn by the 92 car. I think he just wants to stay clean so he doesn't get his car tore up.
You see right now Greg Wychinski under fire here. Brian Johnson going to be moving up to the 4th position here. One thing about it we see a lot here at Gateway is you want to make those passes early. You don't want to wait until longer in the run, just considering your tires are not going to be what they used to be.
Fuel runs for tonight going to be looking around 53 laps, so as always and as normal, not going to be seeing any pit stops for fuel until that 3rd and final stage. DeCiani's working his way back up to 9th as Oxford and Kozlowski both fell back, and they are now fighting with each other for that final points paying position at the end of stage number 1. So DeCiani has now crawled back to where he started. However, he is 6/10 back for Jeff Barnes at the moment. Josh Schaffner still looking very, very secure in 3rd. Yeah, you want to have some patience to focus up for later in the run. First 2 stages, though, that's not the time to do that. And especially if you're in a critical position like DeCiani is, stages 1 and 2, you need to get going. You need to get going quick. You'll have all of stage 3 to reel back time, but you cannot be affording to lose points in the opening stages, especially with the gap so close as it is.
Yeah, and I totally understand what you're saying, Nolan, but the key to this whole thing is going to be staying out of trouble as we look and see that 78 car, Grease Bomb, actually touched that outside wall, which Kozlowski luckily was able to skate low. So incidents like that, that's what we're going to be looking out for.
We see Mark Sanchez starting to fall back a little bit here. He's back down to 9th. Matt DeCiani up to 8th place. Jeff Barnes able to take away 7th here. So Mark Sanchez having some problems. He got really tight there in the last couple corners. I think maybe that car is not set up exactly the way he wants it to be. And one thing we always talk about, these stages are so important because these guys are going to be able to make those changes. And I think changes are going to be what we're going to see from that 31.
Yeah, speaking of changes, Brian, I think that 78 car is definitely going to be looking at making some changes of his own, as that car is anything but stable, as he's got that 00 car directly behind him, guys. It just looks like his car is quite a handful.
Kendall LeBron started bottom of the field, 18th place. He is starting to work his way up in the order. He currently sits 14th place, about to make the move on that Purina Mustang for the 13th spot, but that still yields no stage points. LeBron wants to get himself a little bit further up this field before, so he can actually score a couple of points and maybe pick up one extra spot in the point standings exiting tonight's race. Taking a much tighter line. That's going to be tight between him as Grisbaum cuts right across the nose in turn number 4. He was able to check up in time to avoid it. That got mighty tight. He's going to look again, and this time he'll commit to the move into turn 1.
Yeah, very easy to, drive into these corners and overdrive it, but it looks like Kendall LeBron definitely did a great job. He's able to be able to clear Andrew Grisbaum. We'll look a little bit closer to the front. Jeff Barnes starting to be under fire here from Matt DeCiani.
But you know who's not under fire, and that is that number 5 car, Josh Schaffner. It's just like that. He has securely got himself sitting at 3rd place position. He's got Joseph Lester in front of him, but Clayton Hoffman, guys, he is still leading a blistering pace here as he leads to this field here as we turn lap 9. Coming on to lap 9.
Battle down the back straightaway side by side. That was between the likes of Joseph Lester and Josh Schaffner. This is the fight for 2nd place. Schaffner made the pass out of turn 2 down the back straightaway. Here comes Brian Johnson, wanted to capitalize on that mistake from the number 95 car. You can see now stuck on the top shelf, and Brian Johnson will sweep through his Southern Spiral Pipe Chevrolet. That's Schaffner up to 2nd place. DeCiani, though, has worked his way up to 7th, and he's about to pass Wachinski for 6th place as well. So DeCiani is on the move, but I still think that gap is going to shrink when we get to that first stage caution.
Yeah, that first stage caution is definitely going to be where drivers want to get an opportunity to come in, take a look at that tire data, get a fuel tank of gas, and go back out there and get ready to battle for that 2nd place. But now, as we are sitting here some 10 laps into this first stage, guys, no one's seeming to even be able to catch that 92 car, Clayton Hoffman. He is definitely on a different page altogether.
That he is. I mean, he has just been pulling away now. 4.3 seconds between him and Josh Schaffner. Excellent work for him, for sure. I mean, still Brian Johnson maybe has what it takes to catch up there to Josh Schaffner. Joseph Lester, of course, falling back. Greg Wachinski losing a couple spots here.
Wachinski, he's lost a few, and I think that might have come from getting a little bit out of shape back in turn number 2. He got a little crossed up on corner X, so that let Jeff Barnes get up the inside. Mark Sanchez will follow suit. That's one of the products of Gateway, right? You start to get trapped on the inoperable line, you're bound to get freight trained, and it can be very hard sometimes when the field is packed up together to find a hole. Wachinski is still looking to fight the outside line, though. Down into turn number 3. That could be a viable option later in the run once the tires really start to come into effect. I don't think, though, that lap 12 is the time to make that kind of move.
Yeah, I'll tell you who's making that move, though. His teammate, Kenny Powell, as he is going to slide by him on the inside as well, following that other car. Now, also, here comes that Speedway Angels car of Al Keselowski as well. So that 31 car just going to try to get his hands back around his turnbuckle, if you will. But he had found himself a little bit loose there, guys.
Yeah, he definitely seemed like he was having some handling conditions. Went up to the top of the track, and he's been looking quick. I think it's just one thing about this track, though. If you make a mistake, I mean, that sacrifices your exit. And that's, I think, what we saw there with that 31. I mean, you don't want to sacrifice that exit speed. I mean, these straightaways are so long, and you want to make sure, you know, you're just able to power off the corner.
Yeah, and speaking of powering off the corner, it looks like Wayne Grossi has got Al Keselowski directly in his sights, and that 00 car is going to be pulling in clean behind them as this 31 car is going to try to battle to keep his position and actually stay within that point span position here, guys, as we are now some 14 laps, almost coming up to halfway of this first stage.
Kenny Powell. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say nearly halfway, and as you right to mention, Kenny Powell just made that move to the inside of Wachinski at the head of the train. That was for 8th. Pretty easy pass there for the 24 car. I have a feeling Wachinski might have let him happen a little bit. Of course, teammates tend to make it a little bit easier. There's the move. Kendall LeBron wants to make up one more spot. That's for 12th up the inside of Wayne Grossi.
Yeah, Kenny Powell definitely making that move there. Kendall LeBron taking advantage there. Wayne Grossi, he got really loose, really wiggly off of one of these exits. And, you know, one thing we don't really talk about a lot, I mean, these next-gen cars, even though we have seen them, you know, having those 5 gears, you know, you see shifting kind of being more prevalent. This is one of those tracks, shifting is so important. And I think, you know, it's very easy to get loose when you're trying to go to those lower gears.
Yeah, you know, and that's a very interesting point that you bring that up. If we could actually ride with that 92 car on the onboard there, maybe give us an indication of just how smooth he is going through the gears, because he is having to shift just as well as everybody else. So as you see, as he's coming around this corner here, coming around turn 1, he's going to 4th gear, still in 4th gear, which is, you know, he shifts on the 5th. Now, the biggest thing is this track being totally different on both ends. We'll see that he does kind of keep that car up there in 5th gear as he comes around 3 into 4, guys. So I don't know. I think he has definitely kind of got it figured out. That in conjunction with throttle control equals just the blistering lap times that he's putting down.
Yeah, that it is for sure. I mean, he's definitely doing an excellent job, being very smooth, and I think that, you know, his smoothness is allowing him to save tire too, and I think that's so important, because he now says 6.5 seconds on 2nd place, Josh Hoffner.
Things are certainly seeming to cycle on through as we continue to work our way closer and closer towards that stage end, which will be coming on up in 12 laps this time by, or this next time by, I should say, as Boyton Hoffman is now entering turn 1 already, a whopping 7 seconds clear. If he keeps up that pace when we get to that 3rd stage, he could very well be on track to lap almost the entire field by the end of the race.
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point there, Nolan. But here's the thing, though. The 43 and the 27 now going to find themselves going to be lingering here somewhere in front of the leader. And that is definitely going to cause a little bit of a situation as we're in stage 1, guys. So now we're having to contend with lap traffic potentially here within the next 2 laps.
Definitely could be the case here. I mean, that's one thing you don't want to run into here at Gateway. I mean, guys can definitely get out of the way, but of course they're not necessarily responsible. They don't have to get out of the way. Clayton Hoffman going to have to deal with that lap traffic. It's so hard to pass here anyway. So we'll have to see. But I think his speed, though, the amount of speed he's carrying through these corners, I don't think he's going to have too many problems getting around some lap traffic. I mean, at a track like Gateway, skill level and, of course, the setup that you have are going to be so much more to where you're going to have so much more tools than the rest of the drivers are going to have.
Yeah, speaking of tools, Paul Olsen seems to be having himself a tool of a time here getting around this track, and I'm not sure what's going on, if it's an issue with latency or whatever, but he is actually blinking quite a bit, or glitching, if you will. So be interested to see how that affects Clayton Hoffman as he comes in between that 43 car and that 27 car as well. That 43 car has to be visible in order for our leader to get by him unscathed, guys. So we'll be taking a look at that as we get closer.
We do have a battle going on right now. Yeah, I'm sorry, Nolan. We do have a battle going on right now. Jeffrey Souza getting around Joseph Lester right now.
Joseph Lester started up there on the front row, but has so far been slipping back from the drop of that green flag. Not by much. He is down to 4th. But I'm no doubt sure he wants to be a little bit further up the field than where he is right now, considering where he qualified. Now, Josh Schaffner is all the way up there in 2nd place. DeCiani has moved up to 6th. Now, you see DeCiani in the same shot. He's all the way at the back there. He's actually about to pass Lester. That would put him up into the top 5. So it would have been about a 7-point gap being shrunk, or a 7-point shrinking in the points gap. At the moment, it's only a 4-point gap. That could very quickly become 3 points if DeCiani manages to make the pass here on Joseph Lester before the end of this race. Before the end of the stage, excuse me. Still a lot of race left to go.
Yeah, that 5-0 car, Josh Schaffner, has got to be running in the equivalent of what we would call clean air, as the gap between him and the first place car of Clayton Hoffman being so much there, almost at 9 seconds there, guys. So, yeah, definitely Schaffner almost leading his own race here, if you will.
That he is, and we saw Johnson there a little bit ago. He was starting to catch up there to Josh Schaffner. One thing we see a lot at tracks like this, especially when dirty air is so prevalent, is Ryan Johnson. The closer and closer he gets to Josh Schaffner, the more and more handling issues he's going to have. So I think that's why he's having these issues as Jeffrey Souza starting to catch up here to Johnson.
Slowly starting to reel in that gap. Jeffrey Souza is one of those drivers that really knows how to save his stuff up until the late run. And he has been saving up perfectly. He started all the way back in 8th place, but has slowly been starting to crawl his way back up to 4th for the first time today, and is now how to punch his ticket into the podium. He is at the moment one of the quickest drivers out on the racetrack, save for Clayton Hoffman, who is, let's be honest, in a league of his own, now pulled out a 9-second gap just about over Josh Schaffner as we file down into turn 1 once more.
Yeah, Kenny Powell's actually been turning some really good laps. He was actually a sub 36-second lap at last time or the one before that, I should say. But yeah, no one is quite as quick as Clayton Hoffman. I think that clean air is aiding Clayton Hoffman in a way. I'm curious to see if that will, if someone's actually able to get in front of him and give him some dirty air, would that change? I mean, when you get used to running into clean air like that, I mean, it can have effects, when you say, Big Al.
Yeah, but when you're putting down laps like Clayton Hoffman is, guys, come on. I mean, this guy qualified on the pole, right? His best lap is over 0.5 of a second faster than the second place car closest to him. So, yeah, I don't think it's just that. I think Clayton Hoffman has the setup, has the car, and this is his race to lose. I don't think it's a matter of clean air. Right now, he's just in the front, and he is dominating this contest.
I think dominating is a bit of an understatement. He may as well be on a different racetrack or in a different car. I am convinced at this point that he has got an extra 25 horsepower in that machine. That kind of speed doesn't just come out of left field like that.
Yeah, we definitely, I think we need to investigate on that and actually check that machine after this race. Kind of need to get that set up. As Matt DeCiani trying to work around Joseph Lester here.
Yeah,
Still trying to make it happen.
Yeah, I'm going to need that car there and that setup there. That's what's going to happen here after this race is over, guys.
Here comes Souza trying to pressure Brian Johnson for third place.
You know, and we kind of get lost on this because we are calling the race, but guys, this is coming up on one of the last races of this season. So even though you might not be running for the championship, it's going to give some of these drivers a chance to just for bragging rights, even if you're in the top 5 of this series, you know, because of the way that this thing is going. I think you still get something to kind of talk about and be proud about.
Pit road is closed with 2 laps left to go. Clayton Hoffman took the start-finish line, and while second place was just starting to enter turn number 3. He has got over a straightaway, almost half a lap now on everybody else in this field. That is astronomical from Clayton Hoffman. I can't remember the last time we've seen the gap build up so quickly over such a short amount of time. Having a 10-second gap, it's not terribly uncommon, you know, for some of these longer races, for some of the faster guys like Hoffman, you know, deeper in the race. And we're talking, you know, when we get down to maybe 10 laps go, maybe 5, 20 if we get lucky. Very, very rarely do we see that gap build up in just the first 30 laps of a race. And now he is rounding this circuit for the final time in this opening stage on the night. He has been in the lead so far, and I think it is safe to say that unless he has some kind of massive error, he is going to be in the lead to stay for the duration of tonight's event. I have to be honest, Al, I'm going to steal your thunder here and say Hoffman's my pick to win this one after he dominates the first stage by almost 11 seconds with Schaffner still in turn 3.
And the problem that I have, though, is for the 43 and the 27, because Paul Olsen and Derek Jacobs right now both being a lap down, and it looks like Olsen is going to get that lucky dog pass around. But, guys, it's early on. So at the end of that first stage, we got Clayton Hoffman, your winner, with Josh Schaffner coming in second place. Brian Johnson takes fourth. Jeffrey Souza takes, fourth. Brian Johnson third. Jeffrey Souza fourth. Joseph Lester in fifth. Matt DeCiani really needing these points in sixth. Jeff Martins in seventh. Kenny Powell in eighth. Greg Wachinski in ninth. And that'll put Kendall LeBron at 00 car, rounding out our top 10 point span positions. With that, we're going to take a breakaway and get a word from our sponsors.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
We are back under the caution flag still. Usually we talk to your Stage 1 winner. Annoyingly so, though, the one guy that I would want to talk to figure out where the heck that speed's coming from is the one race where he seems to be MIA. So as we continue to get a bit closer towards the second stage here under this latest caution period, I'll see if I can't finagle together some updated point standings somewhat so we can at least have a rough idea of where things sit after Stage 1 is complete on the night. But we do know for sure Schaffner has closed that gap in.
That he definitely has. Well, while you're working on those points, why don't we grab Josh Schaffner and actually talk to him? I mean, he is fighting for second place right now. Curious to see what the challenges are for that race car.
And Schaffner's going to join us up here in the booth. And, well, Brian, I'll pass this one down to you.
Mr. Josh Schaffner, the Corn Master, as Nolan said earlier. How are you doing, man? I mean, I know it's been kind of a struggle to even try to keep up there with Clayton Hoffman, but, I mean, you're essentially fighting for second. Are you feeling some pressure here from the guys behind?
Yeah, definitely. Clayton's got a really fast hot rod up there, and he does a great job every week. And, yeah, it does feel a little bit like a race for second. Joseph had a pretty good car there in the short run, and, Brian, kind of kept pace with me there, and that was maybe just a little bit better on the long run. But it'll be interesting here. We got another 30-lap run, and then, that long run, stage 3 is going to probably tell the story here of just kind of how everyone's car is when we got to, push it past lap 30.
Now, tell us some of the actual challenges, though. I mean, like, are you feeling like you need to hit your marks perfectly out here, or is there a little bit of leeway?
Yeah, there's not a lot of room for margin here. I mean, if you really watch your lap times, if you overcharge a corner or miss an exit, it's 3/4 so it's a rhythm. You really got to hit your marks and take care of that right front tire, which is, I think we're all probably fighting that a little bit. Just getting tight down there, especially in 1 and 2, and those are some of the challenges of these cars here at Gateway.
Well, you're definitely looking good in the points against Matt DeCiani. I mean, this is what you need to keep doing for sure. We wish you the best of luck. Who can we shout out second place in the stage 1?
Yeah, I got to thank Pioneer Seeds, Smith Farms. They've been great supporters all year, and yeah, it'll be an interesting here. Matt's probably going to have some trouble, but this is an extremely long race and a lot of opportunities to make mistakes, and hopefully get a green flag pit stop. And my goal is just keep the car up towards the frontier and keep it clean, and that's all we can do at this point.
All right, man. Best of luck. Appreciate your time. We'll let you get back to it.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Hey, guys with Josh Schaffner actually leaving the booth, and the lights are off of the pace car. We're getting ready to go back green real soon here. But I think Clayton Hoffman's car might just be set up for the short run, guys. Think about that as we get ready to come back to green flag racing there. Clayton Hoffman in that 92 Toyota Camry is getting ready to take us back to that green flag, and he's going to waste no time getting that 92 Camry up and running and lead this field into turn 1.
Somebody punt him here so we can actually have some action for that race lead, right? At this point, I mean, good grief.
We do have some action. Brian Johnson side by side with Jeffrey Sousa. Big fight going on for third place.
It's a big fight back here for that third position. This is all started to get hairy. It's all started to kick off everywhere throughout the field. Grossi just about sent Kozlowski deeper in the field. O'Hara chopped the likes of James Oxford's nose, but that didn't go anywhere. You've got battles left and right, but so far it's Sousa still on the up and up. Johnson lifts off as Sousa clears for third, and Joseph Lester seems to have the short run pace. He's already moved back to fourth, trying to fight for third as he almost hooks Sousa out of turn 2.
And just like that, stage 2 on the way. Guys, I think these drivers are not going to waste any time now getting these cars up.
Someone sideways into the
road. Car is definitely sideways drifting to that turn. That's just showing you how much these guys are pushing it, guys. They're trying to get the track position. They're trying to get up front early on while these tires are still good.
And as you can see here, as we're going to take a look at the replay, this was an unforced error. No contact made. LeBron just stamping on the binders, too aggressively turning it too sharp, just lost the back up by himself. Did a great job, though, to wrangle that thing under control. It's hard enough to get these things under control as it is, let alone on a flat surface like that. Or I guess I should say almost flat surface in comparison to other tracks.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how much that's going to affect him as this stage is underway. Guys, and a situation like that works out in his favor. Had that occurred in a third stage like that, you got a totally different scenario. It's Schaffner now is definitely got to get his sight set on Clayton Hoffman. He has got to figure out how to close that gap without destroying himself, but they cannot let Clayton Hoffman continue to run away with this thing.
Yeah, I don't even know if Josh Schaffner's worried about Clayton Hoffman too much as he's got Jeffrey Sousa running right in his tracks. I mean, Sousa He dealt with Brian Johnson before. Now he's got to deal with Souza. It's a completely different driver. And you know, you even mentioned it, how, you know, Souza just knows how to save his equipment.
He knows how to save his equipment, but he also knows how to adapt quickly to ever-changing situations. And you can tell he wants to get up and pass Josh Schaffner. He was quicker than him, but now he's able to figure out exactly what line Schaffner's running. That's what he's been doing, running in his tracks. And now as he takes a wider arc, he's trying to find a way to beat those tracks. And that's what I like about Souza. He's able to just figure out where the car is fast. But I have a feeling Hoffman wants to steal Souza's job at that with how much of a gap he's able to bring out. Look at the last time by, Clayton Hoffman, at least a 10th quicker than everybody else in this field.
We can't keep continuing to talk about how much faster Clayton Hoffman is than everybody else. We have to focus on the other drivers as well. That's what I keep telling myself. But it's really hard to do because Clayton is just running away with this thing. But, you know, just like that, though, we got another guy here that is actually Jeff Barnes. Jeff Barnes is really kind of getting his car dialed in, guys, and he's got himself actually in 8th place. That's got to be a pretty good run for that camp because, you know, these guys hadn't been actually running that well here in the last couple of races.
And you see Wayne Grossi also, he's right there in 9th. I mean, he's been showing a lot of pace here. I mean, he's been growing and changing. Every time I watch this guy, he's always surprising me, that 7 car. And I think he might even have something for Jeff Barnes here in just a moment here. Kenny Powell also up there in 7th. I mean, man, he's doing very well tonight.
Down to turn number 1, it started to pick up here as Jeff Barnes tries to find a way past the likes of Wayne Grossi. Josh Schaffner still under fire, but now it's not just from Souza. Joseph Lester just about took out the 14 Souza Media Ford Mustang entry down out of turn 2 that last time by. Tried to look low, didn't quite work out for him, and that kind of faltered Souza's momentum here, and he stalled out, had to kind of regroup, and now trying to fight back, but he's lifting off. He's picking his battles. He's not throwing a pass that he knows that he's not absolutely sure might lead somewhere. The crucial thing for Schaffner at the moment, look at Matt DeCiani. He is right at the tail end of this field, and this last lap by was 2/10 quicker than this chaser.
And you're absolutely right when you said that, Nolan, because while everybody was asleep and Schaffner was leading that pack around, DeCiani was just playing jaws, and all he was doing was eating up the air and the opportunity, and just like that, guys, now he is trying to battle for that 5th place position.
But still able to, you know, kind of defend. Oh, getting really tight there as Matt DeCiani almost gets into Johnson. Johnson lifts out of the gas. Let him go there because that could have endangered both of those guys this race. There's also, right there in front, Jeffrey Souza trying to go underneath Josh Schaffner.
Souza tried to go underneath Schaffner, it didn't work out. DeCiani is cleared for 5th. Joseph Lester trying to wind up a pass here on Jeffrey Souza. He's got to look out, though, because DeCiani wants to fight back, and so does Brian Johnson, who shoots to the inside of Matt DeCiani. He's also going to wash up, and this time I think they did make a little bit of contact through the middle of turn number 2. Brian Johnson evidently not happy on how DeCiani barged his way by. Hey, there's no rule that says you have to let the championship leader go, and almost sends him again into turn 3 as he slides it out.
And if you guys are wondering how the second caution of the night is going to come out, it's just going to be that because, guys, this is what you're going to get here at Gateway. These guys are going to, as they start to fill their cars more, you try to drive it in there deeper on that run. You understand what I'm saying? You're just waiting there trying to make it hook on the inside, and so many times we see that result in that inside car wash it up into that outside car. So now, Matt DeCiani, 5th place, guys. I mean, he has Josh Schaffner in his radar as he now dives on the inside of that 95 car of Joseph Lester.
Yeah, I think Joseph Lester definitely starting to reach the limit of those tires. We saw how very good he is on the short run, but now I think it's reached that point where he is going to be trying to pedal that thing a little bit here as DeCiani trying to put a lot of pressure on him.
Lester pushing up the hill. He's going to try to diamond it in, though, and fight back against DeCiani, but it's going to be, I think, too little too late. DeCiani has still got half a car out in front. Lester can only pull up to about the door, and then he's got to back off, and now DeCiani is clear for 4th place. That gap shrinking all the time between DeCiani and Josh Schaffner. This is not at all what Schaffner wanted to see happen. He wanted to see DeCiani falling back. He did that in the first 5 laps. But ever since then, he has been slowly crawling his way further and further back up through the field. And now it's only a 2-point gap between the two of them. We talked about the point standings entering stage number 1, or entering stage 2. It was only 15 points as opposed to the 19 it was at the start of the night. The way it sits right now, it could very well end up being not just a 13-point gap, which is what it is right now, but if DeCiani continues up this pace, he can actually pull out another point if he manages to overtake Schaffner.
Well, it was a tale of 4 Chevys, right? And now it became a tale of 2 Chevys because the Chevy that bears the number 1 is going to be chasing that Chevy that bears that 5-0. And, you know, you just summed it up for us, Nolan, because the closer DeCiani comes to Josh Schaffner, the quicker he comes to clinching that championship, guys.
And we've also seen Al Kozlowski, who was able to make a pass there on Wayne Grossi back here in 8th position. Jeff Barnes right there behind Wayne Grossi right now. So a lot of still shuffling going on back here, back in the pack. Al Kozlowski, I know he was struggling a little bit on that first stage. We made an adjustment is getting that car right here. 88 looking pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely, and we are 9 to go here in this stage, and we have definitely seen a lot of competitive racing. We have not seen a challenge for the lead as that 92 car continues to write a script yet that we can't even read. I don't know what language is written in because it's just that freaking hot. But the bottom line is 8 to go here in this stage, guys, and it has been a lot of competitive green flag racing thus far.
I think it's a little bit longer than 8 to go. I think it's 65 to win the stage.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm just sitting here watching that 92 car, and I think I've just got a time warp. Just glad I ain't got to pay his gas bill, guys. And speaking of that, he's got his foot in this thing. So as we do get ready to get into this 3rd and final stage, because we're kind of prepping for it, we've got a little bit to go before we get there. But with the fuel run on these cars being 53 miles, as you see that 27 car on pit road, it's going to have to come a question to where either he is going to have to save tires or fuel, or maybe both, guys.
Quite possibly, but he shouldn't have too many issues in stage number 2 here, as Wyszynski you saw get a little bit shave with Wayne Grossi, and Thomas O'Hara able to pull out a little bit further in front. It's those little twitches that Grossi tends to have that could very well find himself at kind of having a few more interesting moments. So Derek Jacobs is the first car now a lap down, and I believe that puts him in the lucky dog position, but in fact he's not 1, he's 2 down.
Now, we just saw Wayne Grossi actually catch a little bit of that grass. That's one thing about this track, you know. You definitely want to try to get it as low as you can a lot of times when it comes to this racetrack, but you definitely don't want to touch the grass. And I think Grossi feeling that as he's starting to feel the pressure of Greg Wyszynski on his back. And I think Josh Schaffner definitely doing an excellent job keeping Jeffrey Sousa behind him. I mean, keeping, you know, Jeffrey Sousa, Brian Johnson. Schaffner has been able to hold on to 2nd place. And I think it's because of, you know, the almost clean air that he has because of Clayton Hoffman being so far out in front. I mean, definitely takes a lot of willpower to stay out in front of a guy like Sousa.
Yeah, because we're thinking about the DeCiani factor, but you know you got to think about the Jeffrey Sousa factor, and he has actually been making that Ford Mustang about as wide as it could be in Schaffner's rearview mirror. So that definitely cannot be helping Schaffner's nerve at all. Schaffner used to being in front, but still feels kind of like he's in front. But man, wow, the 92 car, he's totally running a different race, guys.
I have to actually kind of wonder here if potentially that could even be helping out Josh Schaffner, though, because he realizes that if he's wanting to move out and weave left and right, that's backing Sousa up into Matt DeCiani, which actually could be of a bit of assistance there for Schaffner. If he can get the 14 to the 1 to battle with each other, that might allow him some time to be able to pull out a big enough gap that he can maintain that distance up until the end of stage number 2, which at this point is less than 10 laps away.
That it is. I mean, soon to be the end of stage 2 here. 9 laps remaining here. Matt DeCiani trying to catch up here. I mean, maybe even, could be even a different story here. Could Souza be trying to race Schaffner hard to maybe, get him to burn his equipment up so that way DeCiani can catch him?
No, I think they're just racing hard. I do believe this is just a byproduct of racing hard, and that's what these guys have been doing is now. These guys turning some 25 laps on their tires, so it has definitely been a very, very interesting run thus far. Still no cautions, even though we've had a couple cars that seem to have been a little bit out of control. But guys, if it continues this way, I think I see green flag pit stops in our future.
Will certainly be an ever-present factor in stage number 3. I'm not so sure about stage 2, though. It's about 53 laps on the fuel run, but just about everybody did come down and pit under the stage 1 yellow flag. Since stage 2 is ended in 7 laps now, I think unless you were to pit for tires, which is definitely a valid strategy, and we've seen that actually a few times throughout this league. And honestly, if you're a guy like Lester even, the possibility is there. You'd be able to pit with maybe a couple of laps left to go in the stage before pit road closes. The problem, though, is Clayton Hoffman. Again, 7 seconds clear over that now, and unfortunately, you would be lapped. So that would make it a heck of a lot more difficult to find yourself getting back up onto the lead lap and even taking the lead by short pitting this stage.
Well, yeah.
I mean, even look at the lap times here. I mean, you got Clayton Hoffman or even Josh Schaffner, hitting 34.6's fastest lap. I mean, now he's hitting 36 flat. I mean, that's almost a second and a half of fall off here. Then again, from the entry to pit road to the exit of pit road, it's going to take you about 40 seconds. Is it worth to maybe even try to pit twice? Oh, here goes Kendall LeBron underneath Wayne Grossi. Huge fight going on here as Greg Wachinski was able to make that pass.
Yeah, guys, I wasn't meaning pitting on this stage. I was just commenting on how we've gone green for so long. And the thing about it is this track does have a pit access road. So that's all going to play in the factor. And I'm guaranteeing you with the times that we've seen fall off here, we're going to see guys that will be short pitting it in the stage 3. But as of right now, though, everybody has to drive this one. And I say they must drive this stage clear to the end. This is not the stage in order to short pit it. You have to run a tank of gas out of this thing or close to it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I definitely, I love that you mentioned the access road here. Definitely a very difficult thing to undertake, considering especially when these guys do end up pitting on that final stage. Those guys are going to be on probably pretty old tires, and such a hard thing to navigate is that access road. Anytime you have to go on an access road, there's not a lot of rubber laid down there, not a lot of grip, and put that in with also having older tires. I mean, that is a recipe for disaster.
It sure is, and that will be something that could be playing on a lot of drivers' minds as we continue to work our way closer and closer towards the end of this stage, of which there's now only 2.5 laps remaining. And in fact, James Oxford is going to make the call to short pit for 17th place.
And that would only mean, in my mind, that he is going to stay out for the final stage, which that's going to be a crazy call. This could really throw a wrench in Clayton Hoffman's plans.
Well, Hoffman has nothing to lose there, guys. This is one of those, we say, risk it for the biscuit moves. You get it? I mean, because...
You mean Oxford. Yeah, Oxford definitely doesn't have anything.
Yeah, right. There's nothing to lose. What did I say?
You said Hoffman.
Oxford. Sorry, guys. I can't even understand what I'm saying sometimes. I appreciate you.
I think that everybody has days like that. I had one like that just yesterday when I called a Malibu a Ford Thunderbird.
Whoa.
Here we go. Schaffner under fire. Souza challenging for second place.
Oh, that's tight. pushing up from the apron. Schaffner's pinching him in. He knows that he cannot let Souza get through if he wants to hang on to as many points as he can, but Schaffner, I don't think he's going to be able to fight this one now for very long. Souza wants that spot. There's no rule saying Souza's not allowed to race for it. Souza's still side by side with Josh Schaffner. Clayton Hoffman is on the middle of the back straightaway. We'll stick with this fight here as Souza clears Schaffner. We'll see if that 50 car can throw some kind of desperate move down to the turn 3. I don't think it's going to happen. Hoffman's out of 4, and he will win back-to-back stages.
And I don't think that 79 car strategy has anything to do with throwing a wrench in Hoffman's plans because, yeah, he is still on pit road, guys. So as that stage 2 looks like it's going to come to an end, looks like we're going to continue to see more to say.
Maybe that wasn't a scheduled pit stop there, as the stage is official. Stage 2, Clayton Hoffman, your winner. Jeffrey Souza in second place. Josh Schaffner, third place. Matt DeCiani, fourth. Fifth place, Joseph Lester. Sixth place, Kenny Powell. Seventh place, Brian Johnson, I should say. Eighth place, Al Kozlowski. Ninth place, Jeff Barnes. 10th place, Thomas O'Hara. So definitely a great job of that top 10. Those are the points paying position, and I do believe we'll take a quick step away. And maybe we'll get in touch with Jeffrey Souza here.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Back to green flag racing with less than 100. Well, not back to green flag racing, but back to racing. Not even back to racing. Back to the action. I'll leave it at that because I don't want to think of a fourth way to just shoot myself in the foot with that statement. We're back though.
Whoa, why you got to
say less than 100 laps left to go? You know what? It's been a day for me as well. I've been up since 3:30 in the morning.
Hey, look, you know what, man, everybody, I appreciate you coming to my rescue. Everybody gets a day like that. And you know what? I think Josh Schaffner is hoping that Matt DeCiani has a day like that, right, Nolan?
Yeah, needs to finish 15 spots behind him. That is assuming that Schaffner finishes second or third. So assuming Schaffner finishes in second place, that would mean he needs for DeCiani to be finishing 17th or lower, which, let's face it, if he has to rely on pace for that, it's not happening. He's going to have to hope that DeCiani either makes a big mistake or gets caught in somebody else's big mistake.
And I'm gonna let Brian go ahead and respond on that because boy, do I have something to say.
Well, definitely interesting to see how that all works out. I mean, did we have a chance to talk to Souza, or do you guys don't think we have a lot of time?
Well, it'll depend on how long, if the pace car lights are going to go out this time by.
Yeah, they'll be going out this time. I think it's probably best to just let him focus on his strategy. But the big thing about this is he can make guys. These guys, they're gonna have to make a green flag pit stop. If you look at how many laps we got left, take into consideration the fuel factor, then take into consideration of the drop-off for the tire sequence, I think we're going to see a lot of guys pitting on the very short end of this sequence. And if anybody messes up that pit, whether it be DeCiani, because it very well could be, whether it be Clayton Hoffman, because it very well could be, I think that's where we're going to find the difference in this race. Because think about it. If you do flubber it up here under that pit sequence, this is not the track to get that lap back.
Definitely is not. I mean, it's going to be very difficult to try to get that lap back. I mean, a lot of times, you can go to a track like, even a mile and a half, and, a lot of guys will pit. But this is a track where track position is so important that no one's going to be wanting to risk it to go down pit road early if we do have a caution to get that lap back.
I think we're going to see a lot of different pit strategies take place here tonight. I think some guys are going to be coming in at a very early age. Lights are off on the pace car. We are getting ready to go green flag racing. Nolan, I will turn this over to you. But I do think look forward to multiple pit strategies.
90 laps left to go. Hoffman takes a very early launch. We're back to green. Schaffner spins the tires, and he's already lost 2 spots off of the restart. Lester and Souza goes through. Joseph Lester fights back against Jeffrey Souza, who's now got right side damage into turn number 1. He's going to lift off, though, as Jeffrey Souza has had a clatter with the wall somewhere.
Big hit with the wall there. That's unfortunate. You can see the damage, very visual there. Is now Josh Hoffman trying to recover here to get by Joseph Lester. Not able to do so so far, but look at Kenny Powell now up to 5th place.
Yeah, that's got to feel really good for that 2-4 gas and go camp because, Kenny Powell definitely needs a strong finish here tonight. As he hadn't been able to race as much during this season as he probably would have wanted to. But, guys, we are in that 3rd stage, and I'm super excited. Clayton Hoffman now getting out to that lead that he always does. We got Jeffrey Souza in 2nd place, but Souza does have some damage to the right front of that Ford. Next, though, Joseph Lester sitting there in 3rd place. But let's look at Al Keselowski now as he is going to be battling Matt DeCiani here for that 6th place position. And, the 00 car goes into that inside wall. Might not be a caution, but that is definitely not going to play well for his cause here tonight.
No caution, we stay green. The first time he went around, it was by his own will. This time, he had some help. Wayne Grossi, lean on a bit more. 2, 3, 4 different hits sent Kendall LeBron into the inside wall, and he now has major left side damage. That might not be good news for Josh Schaffner, who's already in a critical situation, and I can already tell you right now, he's already in a position where he's not going to be able to win the championship from 3rd place. It doesn't matter how far back DeCiani finishes, because guess what? I mentioned he needs to finish at least 15 spots back. That means if Schaffner finishes in 3rd, he would need for DeCiani to finish in 18th. But 18th place is Andrew Layton, and he's out of the race. So he needs to finish 2nd or higher.
That is definitely going to be unfortunate for him. I mean, Schaffner, I think, is more fighting for honor right now is Kenny Powell. Look at him. I mean, he's now up to 4th, able to get around Joseph Lester. Man, what a job here. Al Keselowski starting to even maybe put a little bit of pressure on Matt DeCiani. So, I mean, I think the story of the night, fellas, is growth. A lot of these guys have gotten a lot better in this racetrack since we started this race.
And, you got to continue to get better at this racetrack as we continue to slip on through this thing, guys, because we still have some 86 laps to go in this contest. So with that, like I said, I'm going to say this again and again. Some guys are they're going to burn those tires up because they got that tire data from that 1st stage and that 2nd stage. So therefore, they're going to be on the very early end of that for the pitting sequence. And some guys, they're going to run it all the way out and try to get that full 53, 54 laps out of that tank. I'm just excited to see how this unfolds. But guess what? Nothing has changed up front. Clayton Hoffman still leads this field, guys, here with 85 to go.
You know what I'm really surprised about is Brian Johnson. It seems like he's been struggling. Maybe on that last pit stop he took a little bit of some of that damage off that machine. You see he does have some right side damage. Brian Johnson was a top 5 machine. Now back here in 12th.
This is Go ahead, Al.
No, go ahead, Nolan, please.
I was just going to say, this is going to get real interesting once those pit strategies really start to come into play. I don't think we're going to be seeing anybody initiating pit strategies for about another 30 to 40 laps or so at least. But you know that as soon as these guys are able to, that's when the mind games are going to start.
Well,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's going to be all about mind games. I mean, me and Big Al actually, broadcasted a race last night with the trucks. And, the strategy was so vastly different. We saw guys go as soon as the pit window opened. We saw guys that, kind of split it in half. We saw guys that ran the fuel tank out. Ain't that right, Big Al?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what you're going to see here tonight, guys. And the reason why I say that is if you look at the time that Clayton Hoffman is putting down, and then you go back into the field and you sample some of their lap times, these guys, their degradation in tire wear, it's so bad. It's going to force them to pit really early and probably in some cases twice.
What's really interesting right now? Jeffrey Souza, he's running lap times that are kind of comparable to what Clayton is doing here, even with that side damage. Surprised to see that right now. Wouldn't you say, guys?
Sometimes you got a bad leg and you kind of pronate. I think that's the word for it. So I think that maybe him damaging his car a little bit kind of made him kind of pacified a little bit, if you will. So maybe he will find out that slow is maybe faster.
At this point, it really is a kind of a who knows type of situation. We'll see what this will mean for a lot of these drivers as we continue to get that much deeper into the race. Well, Jeffrey Souza is on the back straightaway and well clear for second place. Schaffner's got a lot of work if he wants to get himself into a position where he's even possible of winning that championship. Then you'll have to worry about how to somehow convince DeCiani to fall all the way back to 17th place. 80 down, 80 to go on the season.
Yeah, definitely. Still some good fights going on. I mean, Joseph Lester's been really trying to make something happen on Kenny Powell. You also see Matt DeCiani waiting there in the wings trying to make something happen too. I mean, Jeff Barnes. I mean, man, the story with him. I mean, he has been up and down. Outside of the top 10, up to the top 10. Definitely doing really good right now. I'll tell you that in that Pepsi machine. Here comes Kenny Powell on Josh Schaffner. Could we see Kenny Powell grab second away? Or third away, I should say.
Looking to the inside for the back is Al Kozlowski trying to make a move up on Jeff Barnes for 7th place as well in this same little pack. A lot of drivers, I think, are being held up. And at the moment, I hate to say it, but common denominator, Josh Schaffner. He's the one that a lot of these drivers have been stuck behind. Look at Jeffrey Souza. He was stuck behind Schaffner for the longest time. Now, though, that Souza's past Schaffner, look at how far in front he is. In fact, he's only 2 seconds now behind Clayton Hoffman.
No, I think you hit the nail right on the head. That's what I was going to say, but I was actually trying to do the analytics behind it first. But right now, number one, Schaffner, I do believe, is kind of slowing up the field just a little bit. 2, patience might wear out. And because if you're not his teammate, then you're probably not going to be as likely to want to stay behind him for as long. And 3, yeah, it's got to give. Guys have been patient, kind of waiting on it to play out, but this is one of those tracks where it's hard enough to pass. So if the guy in front of you is, even if he doesn't, if he's unaware of it, you got to get by him.
I mean, you see Kenny Powell. I mean, he is a teammate with Josh Schaffner. I mean, I would say he would probably cut him a little bit of break there, but that break cost him a lot there. Joseph Lester able to make his way back up to 4th now. Matt DeCiani ready to try to take Kenny Powell's position.
And so 2 things are going to happen just from your point. Number 1, Powell's not going to be as patient with Lester, and 2, DeCiani's not going to be as patient with Powell. And the third point is as to who Powell was with Schaffner. I thought that was understood.
You see Powell going really tight, almost hitting the wall there.
I think he might have even hit a bit of marbles up there. You saw how far he slid up, and lost the spot immediately to Matt DeCiani. That is not at all what Schaffner was going to hope for. DeCiani was 2 car lengths back when he entered the corner. Powell went up so high that DeCiani was clear by the time he made the exit.
And definitely Schaffner was definitely kind of counting on Powell to hold DeCiani up just a little bit. You understand, guys? That's kind of like maybe, just kind of hold him up just a little bit. But Powell unable to do that. But just like that, guys, that's even going to allow Jeff Barnes once again to slide on the up end of that 7th position and even challenge possibly for the top 5 here soon.
And could these guys have been burning their equipment up here? I mean, we see. One thing I would like to say, Joseph Lester, has he been making adjustments all race? We saw how good he was on the short run. Has he been making some adjustments, making him a little bit better on the long run? I mean, we're now like, I do believe, plus 18 laps in to this run here. It seems like he's looking good. I mean, he's even starting to maybe even get up to the back number of Schaffner.
Getting further and further into this race and closer towards that pit window. It's not going to open up until about 53 laps to go. That would be, doing the math here, right around lap 107. That is not for another 20 laps yet. So there's still a ways to go before we get that pit window open and we really start to see drivers coming on down, because I can guarantee you one thing. We might see a variety of pit strategies, but nobody's going to be coming on down before you're able to make it to the end on fuel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless it's unscheduled.
Or unless guys just absolutely cannot handle their cars anymore and just have to come in and get another set of tires, because, it seems that everybody's lap times are somewhat consistent here now in this phase. But I just found it interesting that Clayton Hoffman has not been able to run away with that 7 to 9 second lead that he had in the first 2 stages, but instead this time, that 14 car Jeffrey Souza has been able to keep it down to some 2 to 3 seconds.
That's very interesting indeed. I mean, Souza's been doing better than I think anybody all night long and actually keeping up there with Clayton Hoffman. I think we were talking about it before the broadcast. I think we were saying that, this is going to be one where, skill, of course, is everything, to where it's going to be, maybe 2 cars are going to just start pulling away. I think Souza and Clayton Hoffman are those 2 cars. And, I would be interested to see if Souza maybe has an interesting pit strategy that maybe could close that gap in, take that clean air away from Clayton Hoffman. Or could we even see a late race caution that kind of gives, Souza a chance here?
Yeah, but what we're going to see here, though, both Brian and Nolan, is I think we're going to see the guys that actually set their cars up for the long run. Because don't forget, those first 2 stages, there were really short runs compared to what these cars are actually capable of. So if you're actually able to conserve your tires, right, and get the most out of that tank of gas, that's going to give you the ability to be able to run a little bit faster and turn, say, the 4th part of this stage. Oh, Kenny Powell gets a little closer. He's on the inside.
Big moment there for Kenny Powell. That is going to give Jeff Barnes 6th place.
I think that just goes back on that tire wear, guys. I mean, we are coming up to 25 laps on these tires, and these cars are going to start to slow way down.
ISCA right now side by side with Kenny Powell. Sorry, Nolan, go ahead.
I would say still side by side. They've been together for a good portion now of this lap. They started side by side down the back straightaway, and they're still 2 abreast down the front straightaway. Kozlowski breaks later in turn 1, but takes a much tighter entry. Looking at Powell carrying that momentum around the outside line. And I think that would just allow him to hang on. That's the one advantage that you really have in the tighter radius corner. Yes, it's slower. The inside line has to brake a bit later, and that will give them the advantage on the brakes. But that banking helps you to carry that momentum around, so you're able to hang on with the exit.
Let's see. Hey, guys, I'm going to challenge us this as analysts here. Because I do believe that we are analysts. Let's look and see the difference that we have between Joseph Lester and Josh Schaffner after pits, before pits. Because right now, I do think that Schaffner might be holding Lester up a little bit, but they are going to separate here once they get that pit sequence, and maybe Lester could have a little bit more fortune equal to that of Jeffrey Souza than to what he has been currently experiencing.
I've seen a lot of growth in that Lightning McQueen 95 there. I mean, he was short run all day long in the first 2 stages. But now he has turned a corner where he seems like, I don't know if he's changed his driving style or if he's changed, you know, something with the setup, but he is definitely looking a lot quicker than he was before.
Yeah, and I just keep thinking that maybe, you know, if he could get that 95 car out into some clean air, he might actually be able to run just a little bit faster than he is right now.
Could very well be just the fact that he was being held up. That's something we've been seeing so far. A good bunch, actually.
Here comes Thomas O'Hara underneath Al Kozlowski here. That is for the 8th place position.
8th place, and still got drivers fighting it out side by side constantly.
Oh, Wayne Grossi, big moment back there in 11th. Greg Wyszynski slow on the field here. Almost Andrew Grisbaum almost just creams him.
And that was another self-inflicted error for Greg Wyszynski. Lost it out of turn number 2. He slid down, had it saved. Then he clipped the grass right when he throttled up, and that's what caused the shoot back up into traffic. Grisbaum made a last-minute call to scramble low. He thought Wyszynski was going to come up further than he did. Probably thought he was going to go into the outside wall. Wyszynski got gathered up, though, and tried to turn right back down. Didn't realize Grisbaum was sliding down, and in fact, Grisbaum, you saw, was lost in himself doing the same thing.
Inches. I mean, that was inches that they were from each other.
So, guys, just imagine what Clayton Hoffman's going to have to go through, because we still got 64 laps to go. We still have a lot of racing left, and somebody predicted early on that Clayton Hoffman was going to go on to lap the majority of this field, and I do believe that that prediction is true based on his current lap times and speeds. But he is still going to have to navigate a lot of cars in a lot of nasty situations.
That he is here is Al Kozlowski right now out in front of in 9th right now. Brian Johnson. He's been struggling a little bit since he's gotten that damage. Not able to get there to Al Kozlowski, but Kozlowski's been struggling too. Does not seem to have the long run base. I think, you know, to be honest with you guys, I think the setup does matter here, but I think it also is your driving style. You know, a lot of guys we see at other tracks be successful, you know, because of their aggressiveness. I would say that, you know, because of that aggressiveness here, guys are struggling. I think that, you know, you have to kind of be in that save mindset here at this track at all times.
Definitely, I'm going to say I totally agree with you. Conservative racing at this track is going to be one of the key factors. It's going to keep your name and our miles when we get down to the last 20 laps of this thing. We're not going to be talking about the guys that came out here, burned their stuff up early, stayed in the back, couldn't figure it out. We're going to be looking to see who is going to be able to capitalize on the pit strategy. That is not coming in early or coming in late, but coming in at the precise right time for that team. You understand? Because, you know, you got to know your setups, and you got to figure out how to get your car balanced at just the right amount to be able to be fast in the last segment of this race.
60 laps to go this next time by. Pit window will be opening up within the next 7 laps or so, and then we'll be seeing the pit strategies really start. That's when the mind games start to come into play. And in fact, they're already coming into play. Paul Olson, the first driver to make pit stops, about 7 laps before we expected that pit window to open on up. But it's not uncommon. We've seen some drivers pitting outside of the usual pit window and then trying to see if they can't stretch that one to the end.
Yeah, these guys they're going to have to come in now, because I'm telling you, Brian, they're begging for tires like Olsen. He's not going to be able to make it on fuel. So he is one of those drivers that's going to find himself getting into a 2-pit scenario. And if there's not a late stage caution, he is going to be at least 1 lap down. Some drivers are going to have to do that, though. They're just not going to be able to hang on. They're going to try, but it's going to keep falling short. So we'll see if anybody else falls into the same frying pan as Olsen.
Yeah, I think someone else that might fall into that same frying pan, Joseph Lester, he is starting to fall off quite a bit here. right now, 36.4 here versus Matt DeCiani, about a tenth faster. So wouldn't be surprised to see DeCiani be able to make his way up there to Lester. So, definitely has made his car a little bit better on the long run, but just not as good as he needs to be right now. One thing that you guys got to keep in mind too, this is a 75% fuel tank. Even without that factor, once the fuel gets lighter in these machines, the balance changes.
Absolutely, especially because there's no downforce, man. There's nothing on the back end of these things. And looking at some of these guys' lap times now, they are literally suffering, guys. We're seeing lap times that are all the way from 36 flat all the way up to 36.8. Talk about sore feet.
I almost feel like Josh Schaffner has been doing good to be at a conservative equipment here, because looking at lap times right now, he's running faster than Souza.
Well, the only person that's running in sub 36s is Clayton Hoffman. He's the only driver posting sub 36 lap times. Everybody else times just keep rolling up and up and up. So with 57 to go, guys, I'm watching pit road. That's where Big Al's focused at, because I want to see who's not going to be able to make it to 53.
So at this point in time, we could, I think, classify the pit window as being open. Yeah, there's only 55 laps to go as opposed to the 53 laps. I think you can make it on fuel, but if you can do really good at clutch and coasting, you should be able to save those extra 2 laps or so of fuel, but you are going to be a heck of a lot slower. So at this point, you should be able to pit and safely be able to make it to the end of this race. Now, a lot of drivers we've seen in this league tend to pit halfway through stage 3, and that's not uncommon to see, right? I mean, you can make it a halfway on one set of tires. Why be slower when you could be running out there on a fresh set instead?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a balancing act there, Nolan. I feel like, it really is. I mean, you're going to want to try to save that equipment. I would assume if I were some of these guys, especially at a track where the tire wear is so great, I would want to go a little bit longer, I think. And I think that might be the valid strategy. But then again, every time we look at a race like this where tires do matter so much, I mean, people can make so many different strategies work. Would not be surprised to see someone even be able to, split it in the middle and be able to drive away, or, I don't know. I mean, it could work either way. I think it's all going to be about execution. What do you say, Big Al?
I think, though, I agree with you to points. I agree with both of you to points, but yeah, it is just now getting into that window, guys. But even if you were to pit now, think about what I'm getting ready to say. You would still have to make it longer on a set of tires than you have thus far. The longest anybody's run right now is where they're at right now with 41 laps on their tires. But hell, we still got 53 laps to go. There's a lot of guys out there right now that are just barely hanging on because they know they can't come down pit road right now because it's too far along. They're going to have to stop twice. I think that's where we're at, guys. Some guys are just loving it, and it's feeling great to them. The 92 car, that might be one of them. But other guys, I think they're just out there pedaling it.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of which, we saw Kenny Powell just lose it just now. Jeff Barnes a lap before. So definitely some pedaling going on as Jeff Barnes going to try to look on Kenny Powell. Thomas O'Hara waiting in the wings to see if something happens here as they are fighting for 6th and 7th.
And not to mention 8th and 9th place as well. As you can see, Brian Johnson and Thomas O'Hara steadily closing in as well, deeper in this field. Jeff Barnes in the number 32 Triad Chevrolet has a little bit of damage on the right rear of that Pepsi machine, but so far it doesn't seem to be impacting him all that much. He has been consistently a fair bit quicker than Kenny Powell's G&G Toyota Camry. Now this is where it could get interesting, right? Some drivers very much better on the long run. Looks like Barnes might be one of those drivers.
I think what goes into that too, Nolan, really, like Big Al kind of mentioned earlier, there's no real spoiler on these cars. I mean, this is a track where you probably would like to have some downforce. I mean, this track is so much easier when you're in an IndyCar because of that downforce. And these guys don't have that. So, I mean, that's definitely got to make this so much more difficult and so much harder to, I think, save that tire. And just consider you're going to want to try to save that right rear.
Then you got the likes of guys like Thomas O'Hara as well as Brian Johnson, I think, just trying to manage at this point. Thomas O'Hara has actually moved up some of the most spots out of anybody today. In fact, I think he has been the biggest mover so far. He started 14th place. He's up 6 spots. He's all the way up into 8th place, but it's been a quiet race for O'Hara. He hasn't really been getting into a lot of altercations, right? He's been just making these moves up nice and quietly, and I think just kind of picking them up as drivers make mistakes.
Well, looking at Clayton Hoffman, he's even running about the same times as Thomas O'Hara, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of these guys are...
Brian, if you look at that right now, not to cut you off, but to actually, root you on, you're absolutely correct. Clayton Hoffman's times have actually kind of coincided with the pack's time.
That's definitely very interesting to see that. Could he be, have burned his equipment up himself? Maybe the tires have reached its limit.
But to be fair, he's got time to burn. I mean, he's got, 8 seconds on the field? So I think he can afford to lose a second or two here or there.
Definitely a lot of pace, though, from Thomas O'Hara. I think we did, that was something that we need to keep an eye on, because O'Hara, I mean, he's been so good on the long run. And I think he's going to maybe break into the top 5. I don't know. I mean, because the way he's running right now, he's running faster than a lot of the guys in front of him. I mean, the only person that ran faster than him that last time by was Brian Johnson, that is behind him, and also Clayton Hoffman, who's out in front.
Greg Wachinski, pit road.
Wachinski's down and in a pit road, but no doubt will not nearly be the last driver. James Oxford, you can see, still sitting in the lane as well, a little ways back. He retired from this race all the way back on lap 63.
Looks like green flag pit stops are under their way right now, as that 78 car is now going to find himself coming on down there as well, grease bomb. So these guys looking like they're going to be pitting on the early end of that, as we still have some 46 to go, but well within that pit window, guys.
Yeah, I do believe we definitely are, for sure. I mean, it's just going to be about the
Kenny
tires
Powell.
now.
Kenny Powell, pit road.
Interesting call there from Kenny Powell. Curious how that's going to work out for him. I mean, clean air is going to be, I think, a pretty good factor here, though. But, I mean, it's so hard to pass. I mean, I don't know if I was out in front of someone else and they had newer tires than me, I almost would want to let them go. But then again, I mean, that's why I'm up here in the booth.
I think these guys have split the difference as long as they could. Now they got 48, 49 laps on their tires. There's 45 laps to go in the race, and they say, hey, look, I could handle it at that point. Let's go ahead and go in. Let's get it regrouped, recouped, and let's get out there and try to get up front. Josh Schaffner as well joins the lead group guys. Looks like green flag pit stops are totally underway, guys.
Yeah, as I do believe Brian Johnson actually getting by Jeff Barnes here. Johnson having a little bit of a blinking issue. I wonder if Barnes actually, Barnes was letting him go. That way he can get down pit road, so pitting out of 7th right now.
Money stop time. DeCiani is into pit road. No mistakes on entry, which is great news at this point. He's been keeping so consistent with Josh Schaffner. All he's really got to do is make sure it gets on and off pit road without a penalty. And he's going to be smooth sailing. Although I say that, Paul Olson, remember I mentioned how Schaffner needed to finish at least 2nd place, and that would mean DeCiani would have to finish 17th. I hate to say it, guys. I think this championship was decided 18 laps ago. As Paul Olson, as I just noticed, he's taken behind the garage and he's locked out that 17th place spot. At this point, the only way Schaffner can win this title is if DeCiani finishes the 12th or lower, but he would have to win. That's the only possible way now he can get that title. And I got to be honest with how much Clayton Hoffman's been dominating this race, that ain't happening.
Well,
Yeah, you're definitely right, but I mean, he's still dealing with lap traffic here. I mean, you saw he got a really big wiggle there trying to get around Kendall LeBron. You can see he's definitely having some handling conditions. Could we see Clayton Hoffman make a mistake here, Big Al?
I was just going to say, I mean, so you're saying there's a chance. I mean, that's why we call it a race, baby. It ain't a win. It's a race. Clayton Hoffman still got to come down pit road. He's still got to go 42 laps. So I'm going to be here to the last lap, and I'm going to be rooting on, hoping that this thing might even have a possibility of going 3 or 4 different ways, man. Come on, baby. We got to make something happen as the leader is now on pit road, along with Al Keselowski, that Speedway Angels car of his coming down there at the same time. Guys, it has truly been an exciting end to an awesome series, though, nonetheless.
No mistakes for Hoffman on entry. Al Keselowski also into the land as he has just lapped him while on pit road. But Keselowski will quickly unlap himself while Hoffman is changing tires. I'm going to take a wild guess here and assume full 4. Yes,
Yeah,
it is.
Definitely assume so. One thing we haven't really talked about a lot tonight, guys, is how green this race has been. We thought we'd see some cautions. We have not seen a caution for a wreck this whole race.
Yeah, that is an absolute brilliant point, Brian, because we haven't. And this being as difficult of a track it is, we hadn't even seen a self-spin. So, yeah, kudos to these guys. I think it just speaks volumes about the type of talent that we see here in the ISCA.
100%.
Just waiting now on guys like Lester, Grossi to come on into pit road. Everybody else has already made their stop. So Joseph Lester and Wayne Grossi, those are the two that we are currently waiting on. We'll see when those drivers will come on in, but so far Lester has stayed out. He's about to be, or Kenny Powell about to unlap himself from Joseph Lester. Checking in on Wayne Grossi real quick. Wayne Grossi is coming into pit road, leaving that 95 car, the sole driver out there now, hoping for a caution, maybe to see if he can't pick up a couple of spots.
Yeah, now only, I do believe, 39 laps to go here. Across the line, it's going to be 38, so definitely been some fighting going on here. You know, anything could happen here. You know, one thing about it, you know, you got guys staying out like Joseph Lester. It looks like actually he is going to be taking a trip down pit road. That is actually going to make the cycle complete here.
And, you know, I did want us to pay attention to what the time was going to be the difference once Lester came in and got his fresh tires pre that when he was behind the Schaffner, because I want to see if actually he is actually able to make up any difference. But as we sit here and we pondered it and we pontificated the entrance lane, if you will, there on pit road, you know, I do believe it's a little bit easier with that one than it is just say having to come straight off it. Off turn 4 at a racetrack such as Charlotte. The access road, I think, makes it easier.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it makes it easier when having to handle like a different kind of surface there. But I do agree. I understand like what you're saying. Like, you know, a lot of times when you're trying to, you know, get off of a pit, you know, get down a pit road, I should say. A lot of times, you know, you have to do it on the racetrack, and you don't have to do that here. So I understand exactly what you're saying. One thing I would like to keep an eye on, though, I mean, you know, Joseph Lester stay on the lead lap with that pit stop. He was substantially better on the short run than a lot of these drivers out here. Curious if this is a strategy that's going to work for him.
For second?
For second, of course.
Oh yeah, right. Well, I was just clarifying because I was like, yeah, I don't know if anybody's strategy is going to work unless somebody's out there trying to wreck that 92 car, Clayton Hoffman. I don't know what they put in that Toyota, guys, but I'm just saying that I have not seen a single driver dominate a competition like this in a long time. I mean, what he has done here tonight is just nothing short of a clinic, guys.
Masterclass, that's for sure, Nolan.
An absolute masterclass that still has about 35 more laps left to go throughout this race's duration. He is about to lap Wayne Grossi, which would only leave 13 of 20 cars on the lead lap. We'll take a quick step away as we continue to cycle our way through. It has so far been a caution-free race for incidents. We'll be back in just a few.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com. And be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
Still under green flag conditions. Hoffman still leading this race. Souza is the next closest driver, but is 5.6 seconds back. That gap is closing, but I don't think it's closing fast enough. Schaffner, the chase driver in the points, is another 3 seconds back, 8 seconds behind, and behind him is our points leader, DeCiani, but he is 10 seconds back on the road. And at this point, all DeCiani's got to do is just keep that car pointed in the right direction. He's got this thing in the bag.
Yeah.
One thing about it, though, Greg Wyszynski, I think that's also kind of a points position that is under fire here. I think Kenny Powell and him pretty close, I think, for the 5th spot in the points. Is that right, Nolan?
Something along those lines, yeah.
I think Rossi was up in the mix with that also.
Definitely could see some changes in the point standings. I'd be curious because I know before we started this thing, I think we were discussing with Kenny. I mean, he was talking about how close he was with Wyszynski. So Grossi right there also out. Because I mean, Grossi's been showing such a growing point, but now he's back to 14th. So I mean, that's not probably looking too good for him.
Yeah, but see, here's still, yeah, and everybody's going to say, what's a yabbit? It's kind of like a rabbit, but different, okay? But the difference is we still have some 30 laps to go, guys. This race is far from over. All it's going to take is one little whoopsie, and the next thing you know, drivers all still have another set of tires. They're in the pit stops. We could get this thing bunched up again, and then who knows? I mean, we could definitely manifest our own destiny, if you will. I'm just being optimistic.
And look at this also. Clayton Hoffman slowing down quite a bit here on that last lap. I do believe being slowed up a little bit maybe by Wayne Grossi. But, that's all it takes is him getting slowed down enough to give Jeffrey Souza, or to get him, within sights.
He still has to go through proverbially the whole field. I mean, he's got the 31, the 5, the 78, and the 88, and the 31 car. Well, I mean, he's not just going to roll over and play dead. All right, let's just be honest on that. Mark Sanchez is a guy as we haven't talked about Mark a whole lot here tonight. I got him confused with Flores, but Sanchez, he's a winner from just 3 weeks ago or something. Maybe, well, not a winner, but he was still on the podium, wasn't he?
And Sanchez has had a few very lucky runs, I think is worth noting. He is pretty typically a mid to backfield runner, but he has been able to on occasion put together a couple of very decent results for himself. Got a battle going on for 8th place at the moment. Joseph Lester continuing to try to recover after he started 2nd and has only slipped backwards from the drop of the green flag. Just clipped the grass a little bit on the entry to 3 as he worked underneath Thomas O'Hara, so he'll retake the 8th position and he'll now try to set up Jeff Barnes in the Triad and Pepsi Chevrolet, who's just in front of him.
Well, to be honest, Nolan, I mean, Joseph Lesser, he waited until probably the absolute latest moment he could to pit. So he's going to make quick work of Jeff Barnes. He is on the newest tires in the field, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely he is, because you're absolutely correct. He did have that late stage pit strategy, if you will. But that 92 car, he's actually kind of getting held up a little bit here as he's going through the field. And that might not actually work out in his favor. We'll just see.
Oh, problems for Kenny Powell. He falls back to 9th here. I want to take a quick replay if we can, Rob.
Seeing what happened, this was with Brian Johnson. His teammate that he was battling with. Was there help? No, there wasn't. Just lost it by himself, clipped the grass. Still saving it, and does manage to get to the inside wall and nearly wiped out Jeff Barnes as well when he came back up.
That could have been a bad deal right there, boys.
I think the best thing, though, for Powell is that he did not take a direct shot to the nose of that 2-forward gas and go Camry. That looks like he had more of a glancing blow from the left side. So might not affect his power, but definitely is going to affect his performance.
We've had so many close calls this race, and not a single one of them has been a yellow flag. It's at the point, I think, where a lot of us are wondering, where's the spice into the season finale? Usually there's something to spice things like these races up, but this race has been pretty tame, all things considered.
Tame would be an understatement. I mean, literally, I need somebody to go sideways. You know, speaking of that, what do you guys think about, as we got 24 to go here, so we can talk about these guys, but what do you think about the claims from the Cup guys that their cars are not drivable sideways, which kind of like, if you think about it, that's where we were in our racing years ago, you know what I mean, where if the car kind of got sideways, you couldn't save it, it was gone. You know, now we can kind of drift these things around the corner as we've seen so many times. Isn't that ironic?
Well, we do see a little bit of a battle going on right here. Mark Sanchez, Wayne Grossi. That is on not on the lead lap. They still are fighting for position. Grossi underneath Sanchez, able to make that pass stick.
Makes the pass work, and now we'll try to set up Wojcinski. Mark Sanchez wants to see if he can potentially try to get that place back. Took a tighter entry than Wayne Grossi, but he also takes a much tighter exit, which is unfortunately not how to be fast. Around the Worldwide Technology Raceway. There's a lunge from Grossi to the inside of Wojcinski. That's for 12.
And also side by side, Kenny Powell and Al Kozlowski. Of course, Kenny Powell hitting that wall like he did, now under fire. Multiple battles going on right now for the end of this race as we're soon to have 20 laps to go.
You're going to be 20 laps to go this next time by when Hoffman comes around to take the start-finish line. And I have to say, I mean, I'm very pleasantly surprised at how civilized this race has been. I mean, typically some of these races, especially in the dying moments, they can get a little bit hectic, and we've seen that time and time again about how much drivers have been trying to fight hard with each other. They've been fighting hard all season long. I mean, look at the top two in the points. Just about every single race within the last month and a half, they've been collected in somebody's incidents or their own incidents. Some way or another are being collected by their own incidents, but everybody tonight has been taking it as easy as they possibly could, and now it's resulted in a very, very calm end to what's been, honestly, a pretty exciting season overall.
I think even tonight's race was pretty exciting still. I mean, Clayton Hoffman now coming up on here. Kenny Powell going to be putting him a lap down. That's going to leave only 9 cars on the lead lap, and it could be even more here. It's not that far up to Al Kozlowski and Thomas O'Hara. I still feel like this has been an exciting race. I think this has been a race more of strategy, to be honest with you, Big Al.
Yeah, a strategy is right, but I do believe one of you guys called it that they said that you believe that at the end of this thing would only be 3 cars on the lead lap, and that is still a very good possibility. It's been a very good race, and it just definitely does show the amount of respect that these drivers have for each other. The fact, because it is a challenging racetrack, there's not a lot of lanes to pass. but yet we've gone this whole entire thing caution free.
Less than 20 to go. Hoffman has now pulled out the 9-second lead we're used to seeing, and other than that, everybody else is in the triple digits on back. You've only got 9 cars now on the lead lap. Only 16 of the 20 still out on the racetrack. Everybody else has retired. Those drivers included Paul Olson, Andrew Layton, Derek Jacobs, and James Oxford. And a majority of those guys have been able, or having for cars slapping the wall here or there, and then, well, they've just retired from there instead of deciding to stay out on the racetrack.
How is that 92 car so fast? I mean, that would be the thesis that we could come away with from tonight's presentation of the ISCA at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. That 92 car is just definitely doing something that we would all have to write a paper on, if you will, guys.
I'll tell you what, though. I mean, looking at Josh Schaffner, he's not looking too bad right now. I mean, 2.7 seconds back from Jeffrey Souza. Could we see him, try to catch up here? I mean, not an insurmountable gap between those two.
Not insurmountable, but I think we'll have to see how that could play on out. Joseph Lester, by the way, is wanting to put DeCiani down one spot, and I'm sure DeCiani probably doesn't want to fight it out too much, considering how he's been in control of this championship so far from the outset. And now, Lester's going to pull alongside. That's for 4th place. But again, DeCiani can afford to lose a spot because he would need to finish 17th or even 18th or lower in order to make that work. And at this point, there is no physical way that it is possible for DeCiani to finish so far down the order.
And you got to think also that, Joseph Lester, 6 laps, newer tires. I mean, he waited till probably the absolute latest he could pit, and it's paying off. I mean, he's back up to now 4th place. I don't know if he's going to be able to catch up here to, 3rd place, but it could be a possibility. I mean, we still have enough time. I mean, he's looking pretty quick right now. Looking at lap times, actually, he has had to deal with, I do believe, Matt DeCiani last time. I actually will have to really get a good gauge on what lap times he's actually running right now.
Yeah, but unfortunately, you're going to have to put his lap time up against the lap time of Clayton Hoffman at 92 Toyota, because right now he is in the good air, guys, and there is nothing standing in between him and a victory except for himself in a couple of left turns.
I think I misspoke, actually. Joseph Lester, I think he has almost 10 seconds there to get to Josh Schaffner. So I think 4th is probably the best he's going to do. So that was my mistake, ladies and gentlemen.
And you are correct. There is a 12-second gap at the moment between Josh Schaffner and Joseph Lester, which is the gap that you were seeing. There is only, however, about a 9/10 of a second gap between DeCiani and Lester as well. Brian Johnson is also catch up to DeCiani, but once again, it's not going to matter in the long run.
Yeah, for sure. When it comes to actually holding the championship, looks like DeCiani has got that all well wrapped up. So I think DeCiani's just taking it easy right now. And I don't think he's really pushing it too hard, as I do believe next time by we're going to have 9 laps to go. Or actually, my mistake. It's actually going to be 11 laps to go.
Yeah, DeCiani's doing exactly what he's got to do, guys. He's just keeping her between the straight and narrows, and he's running this race because at this point, it doesn't matter where he finishes. He just has to finish. And so as long as he finishes on the lead lap, that championship's his. That 92 car, though, Clayton Hoffman, he is still our leader, man, and he is putting down still some blistering lap time. Jeffrey Souza probably wishing that he could catch him, but I just don't think he's going to quite have enough there for him tonight because there's still probably some 7 or 8 cars in between those two.
I wouldn't be surprised, though. I mean, maybe even, still not time is running out for Josh Schaffner. Of course, he's not going to win the championship, but he's showing some really good pace right now. I mean, he's been 4/10 faster than Jeffrey Souza on the last couple laps. I mean, could he even catch up and maybe take second away?
That could be a possibility here with 10 to go. We'll just have to wait and see. But also, Wayne Grossi now is going to be looking like he has Kenny Powell in his sights here for that top 10. So Powell's going to have to kind of keep his eyes on a sparrow, if you will, if he's want to finish in the top 10 of this thing.
And we talked about it before, Greg Wachinski and Kenny Powell really close in the points. I mean, this could be something that determines, that position when you say Nolan.
I would certainly agree with that one wholeheartedly, and it'll be one of those things that we'll no doubt see not just in the closing laps of this race, but even as we get set for the next season. And of course, I think that is something we haven't really had a whole lot. Oh, we haven't had even really mentioned it a whole lot. But of course, this is not going to be the end for a long time. You still got the Super Cup Series season, which is still going to be very much in play. Next week, they swing on over for some road course racing at the Sonoma Raceway over in wine country. And then, well, it's not quite certain what the season opener for season 3 is going to be, but I can tell you right now, the first 2 races after that will be the Nashville Super Speedway and Road Americas. There are some pretty good tracks coming on up in the next few weeks to fill in the void.
Yeah, but that's at Nashville Super Speedway. That's not the Fairground Speedway. Those 2 are 2 totally different tracks, so that's going to let you know that one's a short track. And so we got a couple road courses and a short track coming up.
I'd argue that the Nashville Super Speedway.
Super Speedway. We have a Super Speedway and 2 road courses. Sorry, guys.
Well, I wouldn't say it's really Super Speedway, though, because that track's only, 1.3 miles? I think they only really called it the Super Speedway because there already is a Nashville Speedway, and it's the fairgrounds. So
it's a
you can't have 2
there. But, I mean, still, definitely a great track in its own right. I would have likened it to almost an Iowa or Richmond.
But bigger. It's like Talladega. It's Daytona, but more.
I've actually got a win there in the next gen car, in the officials.
I have yet to race these next gen cars, the officials. You guys knew that the new apparently the new damage model is going to be coming on out this new season, Bill. So that'll make season 3 real entertaining.
Whoa, say but.
Yeah, the Irish made it official on their Facebook page earlier today. They're putting that new damage model potentially on this car as soon as next week.
Well, what's really interesting, guys, kind of pertaining to the race that's going on here, Jeffrey Souza, having to get around lap traffic, has let Josh Schaffner get within a second of second place.
Schaffner closing in that gap, trying to see if he can't at least overtake Souza and finish on the second step of the podium. It's going to be a difficult run, though. And honestly, I think that this one might just be in the hands of Jeffrey Souza. He's been in control of second place ever since he took it. He's not going to be willing to let it go without a fight.
Yeah, but he's got to get around the 5 of Greg Wachinski, and if he does that, it'll be better on his case. But look right there in the end of that frame, you'll see that Schaffner, too, is going to come up. So Souza can't be feeling confident at all, even though we're saying it's 4 to go, this thing's almost over. He now has Josh Schaffner in his rearview mirror, as well as his relative. So this race for him just got a whole lot more complicated, guys.
Yeah, I definitely agree wholeheartedly. But, then again, I mean, it looks like Wachinski not playing a team player right now, not just letting him go. Schaffner's having to fight for this. That is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Schaffner to actually catch up to Souza. So I think it might be all said and done. I mean, but could, like you said, I mean, if Souza's more concentrated on that relative, he could make a mistake here.
So almost a little bit of contact between Grisbaum and Wachinski back there.
Caution is out! Oh my God, Kenny Powell!
Oh no!
That is going to change everything, ladies and gentlemen. This race is not over. As we are 3 to go and caution is here. Looks like Wayne Grossi gets into the back of Kenny Powell, sending Kenny Powell around to the negative. Guys, that brings out caution with 3 to go. I'm going to turn this over to you guys because I don't know what to do.
Man,
holy cow.
That changes literally everything here.
I'm not going to lie. I was clicking kind of around on my timing software here. I had a heart attack when you said caution because I thought I hit the caution button for a hot minute.
That is not what happened. That was actually a legit caution right there as Kenny Powell gets turned by Wayne Grossi. And also, you know, you got to keep in mind this could maybe even change the championship here if Matt Isiani gets involved in something on the green white checker. No.
So, guys, this right here is a big, major event. I'm going to let Nola talk about it and speculate about it, but we still have at least 7-8 cars that are on the lead lap that are going to be bunched up with a 3-to-go scenario, which is a run and gun, right? So go ahead, Nola. What are we looking for here?
Well, you're looking for Schaffner to take that race lead away from Clayton Hoffman. That is what he absolutely has to do. I mentioned this before. If you were to finish second place, he would have to have DeCiani finish at least 17th. 17th place, though, retired from this race almost 70 laps ago at this point. So that is not an option. He has to win this race, and then he has to hope that DeCiani finishes at least 12th or lower. But DeCiani is not going to make this easy, so he's got to hope for two things. One, that he can take that lead from Hoffman, and two, that DeCiani runs into some major trouble early on the restart.
And then all of those drivers that were a lap down now clinging to the life of the pace car, hoping to get that wave around as the leaders did all indeed pit to take 4 tires and probably no Sunoco fuel. That high horsepower, low downforce package, lining these cars all up, 3 to go. I'm going to be quiet.
Looking at this here, I do believe Jeffrey Souza takes 2 tires.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
9.4 in the box. And that is indicative of taking 2 tires. This is kind of a interesting call here.
Sousa is quite literally just going for anarchy. he's wanted to take the.
He chose violence.
he is. I tell you what. Typically, the unwritten rules when it comes to pitch strategy, when it's this late, 4 tires. He didn't just flip the rule book; he burned it.
I don't know if that's a good call here, Gateway.
Also, guys, you still have to imagine that you have the majority of the field that are now run around back to catch the pace car here that are going to be taking the same green flag, but these guys are sitting on 48, 47, 46 lap old tires. So they also have to get they got to get their cars back up to speed here for not just 1 but 2 laps at least, without causing yet another caution as well, guys. So a lot of things coming into play here. I'm going to be quiet.
No, I agree.
Well, and best yet, a majority of the lap down cars stayed out so they could get the lap back. So we're going to have pretty much everybody, bar Pattengale, on the lead lap.
This is going to be insane, fellas. And I'm glad. I would hope to be nowhere other than right here, right now.
Just when you didn't think it could get any crazier, we have just unleashed pandemonium, guys. Because literally, we have a proverbial ticking time bomb. You have to put into play with 1 to go now. The lights are off on the pace car. Just think about what I'm saying. From 10th place down, these guys all have greater than 40 laps on their tires. And they're going to be trying to get a rolling start with the rest of the field, with those leaders, with Joseph Lester, who's out there with 4 tires, but Jeffrey Souza right beside him with 2 tires. I mean,
I'll be honest with you, Joseph Lester, I hate to correct you, Joseph Lester is on 39 lap old tires.
Oh boy.
I'm really going to be quiet now.
Yeah, this is going to be bad. And Jeffrey Souza on 2 lap. You know, he only, I'm sorry, he's on only 2 tires. So, yeah, I feel scared for Clayton Hoffman right now. I think, actually, Nolan, you said it before, it's going to be all about who does not wreck. I think that's exactly what we're looking at right now.
How does the 95 car launch without wrecking is the question, and there it is.
In the corner.
It's a super launch, guys. Taking off as soon as the pace car is off the field. That 95 car got to launch him. He is literally running for his life.
Oh, trouble in the back. Jeff Ford's got tipped around, but Al Kozlowski manages to save it with him. They're side by side for second place. 3 wide now. Hoffman to the inside, trying to get around Josh Hoffman. They bang doors. 3 wide with Souza down to the turn number 3. Souza's trying to pin Schaffner in. This is going to get tied. 4 wide out for the race lead. Oh, they're wrecking. And Schaffner's going to go into the outside wall. Caution's out. That might be the championship right there.
Definitely could very well be, as Matt DeCiani now up to 8th here. And Josh Schaffner taking a toe. I think he's giving up here, fellas.
No.
And I do believe do we not have another green-white checkered here?
We do.
Yes, I think we do.
Wait, I don't think we might. I think we only have the one, don't we?
That's interesting there. So that is going to end it under caution. Clayton Hoffman able to make, what a 3-wide move there. I want to see that back.
We are on the last lap. That has been confirmed, and Hoffman's coming around through 3 and 4. 4 wide doesn't work, and Schaffner throws the championship away. He had to be desperate, but it was too little, too late. So Hoffman, in a 4 wide bonsai charge to the inside, made it 4 wide. He's going to win the race, but it will be none other than Matt DeCiani, all the way back in 8th, who will win his first ISCA ButtKicker Cup Series championship.
What a job there for him. I also got to give a really big shout out to Joseph Lester. Made that call, stayed out on 39 lap pole tires, and finished 2nd, guys.
I'm going to give a shout out to my buddies in the booth. First to Rob Melnick for keeping the cameras together. Next to you, Brian Britt, for composing yourself, and to you, Nolan, for calling the most exciting final 2 laps in this season of ISCA racing, guys. You know, they did what they had to do down on the track. We did what we had to do up in the booth. With that, we're going to take a break, get a word from our sponsors, and we'll come back with your official race order as well as the championship standings.
ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing. Get yours today at thebuttkicker.com and be sure to use our 20% discount promo code ISCA20.
What a ride, and I don't think anybody could have anticipated that would have come down just like that. We'll take a look at your results really quickly here from the Trader Joe's 200. Clayton Hoffman took the win in a 4-wide charge to the inside. Joseph Lester somehow manages to survive 2nd place despite being on 39-lap-old tires. Brian Johnson finished 3rd on the podium. Jeffrey Sousa was 4th. O'Hare was 5th. Jeff Barnes is 6th. Your new champion, Matt DeCiani, was 7th with Wayne Grossi in 8th. Greg Wachinski is 9th. Andrew Grisbaum rounds out the top 10.
Mark Sanchez in 11th place. Kenny Powell in 12th. 13th, Al Kozlowski. 14th, Kendall Levron. 15th, Robert Pattengale. 16th, Josh Schaffner. 17th, Paul Olson. 18th, Andrew Layton. 19th, Derek Jacobs. And 20th, James Oxford. And that wraps out our 20-car field here tonight. What a race it was, Nolan.
What a race it was, and for Matt DeCiani, it means that he is going to be a champion. And Matt, that has got to feel absolutely astounding, being able to take your first title in such a fashion.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. I nothing wanted to go my way. I broke my shifter with, 45 laps to go after I pitted, so I was stuck in 4th the whole, the last 40 laps. So it just happened to work out.
So when you saw that 4-wide move starting to develop in front of you, it kind of summed it up. What was starting to go through your mind?
Well, when I saw Josh around, I was like, well, that for sure is it. I knew it was going to be close if he potentially won that because, I don't know, we were like a 14 or something before that. So I knew it was going to be close. So I was just like, all right, well, I'll take it. It's not the way you want to win one, but, I'll take it.
And obviously, you know that Schaffner is likely going to be charging after it for a game when we go race it again 2 weeks from now to kick off season number 3. Do you plan on making a return to defend your title?
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm doing the Super Cup series. So yeah, I'm in here for, all the way through.
Well, I would hope for nothing less than that. So, Matt, before we let you go here, anybody you'd like to shout out for that number 1 car for getting you done with the championship?
Yeah, thanks to you guys up in the broadcast booth all season. Thanks for Kenny for getting me to join the league. Thanks to Josh for some fun racing. It was pretty good all season, and everyone else in this league. And then, just got to do a giant shout out to EPI for my setups. But yeah, thanks them for everything.
And thank you for joining us up here tonight in the booth, Matt. Congratulations on the championship, and well, hopefully we'll be seeing you defend that next time around in season 3.
And I'll
Thank you,
step
guys.
in here right before you go to the next finisher. Matt, on behalf of ButtKicker, since they sponsor our series, you have just won yourself a game or 2, and you'll be once we exchange your shipping address, I'll get that right to you.
Awesome, great to hear.
Alrighty.
So we're going to move it on down now to the second place driver in the point standings, of course. It was not the way that Schaffner wanted to go out, but hey, went out in a blaze of glory nonetheless. Brian, you're standing by with our number 2 finisher in the points.
Yeah, Josh, just unfortunate there. We saw you kind of lose it there. You had a really good chance with that late race caution. What went into that? Did you make some adjustments on that car or something like that maybe try to do on the short run and it was just a little too loose? What happened there?
No, at the end there, no, ran the same, didn't make any changes all race, and yeah, there at the end, just trying to manage, Clayton on the inside and in tires and new tires, old tires, and yeah, just went to get around there, and Jeffrey was up there, and yeah, just all my bad, just pushed a little too hard, just trying to get as much as we can there at the end and race for the win.
It definitely seemed like you were definitely trying to race for the win, man. It was still a great job. You were definitely, very consistent here tonight. Leaving Gateway, like what are some of the lessons you think you've learned?
Yeah, it was a challenging week, I think, for everybody, but it was fun. I like these technical tracks, and yeah, I like tracks where you gotta use some heavy braking and a lot of off throttle time, and made progress all week. I was really struggled when I first got started here, and learned quite a bit from following Clayton off and on here tonight, and Jeffrey there, and yeah, it was just nice to make some gains, some small gains here and there, and worked on the setup, and yeah, overall it was a challenging week, but still a fun week here at Gateway.
Well, you definitely showed a lot of pace here, this season for sure. Finishing second in the points here definitely got to be a little bit of a disappointment, but still, you managed to, definitely make it exciting for us up here in the booth for sure. Man, how are you feeling about next season? You got a lot of excitement, and even for the Super Cup Series.
Yeah, no, just keep plugging, and no, look forward to getting right back at it here. For Super Cup here, and then I think we're off a week probably till season 3 starts. But no, we'll just keep chugging away at it here. Looking forward to season 3 and the rest of Super Cup, and should be a fun ride.
We definitely look forward to seeing what you can manage to pull out here for the Super Cup Series. Who can we shout out tonight?
Yeah, well, congrats. Yeah, congrats to Clayton there in the win tonight, and certainly a shout out to Matt. We had a really fun championship battle all season long, and I know we raced around each other a lot, and had some really good racing there. And yeah, I got to thank the sponsors: Plenish Soybeans, Pioneer Seeds, Smith Farms, and the whole gang there, and just everyone else everyone at G&G, you guys at ISCA, ButtKicker, just everybody that works so hard. You guys up in the booth, Nolan and Rob behind the scenes, just everyone that works so hard, and yeah, look forward to seeing everybody back here another week for Super Cup and a couple weeks for season 3.
All right, Josh. Well, we definitely appreciate your time, man. Great job for second place in the championship standings. Look forward to seeing what you can do at Sonoma next week.
Thanks, Ryan.
And going to move it on down to our third, well, our third interview. So he's saying third place, but it's going to be our race winner tonight, Clayton Hoffman. And, well, Al, you're standing by with tonight's race winner after that 4-wide move.
Hey, Clayton, this is Big Al up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, I got you.
Oh, well, first off, I want to say congratulations on the hat trick. You came out here tonight. You dominated the race. You won the first, the second, as well as the third stages. What was the difference there between you and the rest of the field in your setup?
I think it was just really trying to find short run pace without knocking the tires off. Car's really balanced. Tire wear was basically even across the board, and I made some adjustments here in the session. I ran a bunch of practice laps, which I normally don't do, trying to figure out how to handle that low fuel situation. I've kind of struggled with that with the car handling, and with these cars, I mean, if you're off just a hair on handling, you're off a tenth, 2/10, and it really is a predominant a track like this where you have long straightaways. You got to get that run off the corner. If you don't get the run off the corner, I mean, that's 2/10 you're giving up right there.
And you said that you just basically referenced long handling and short handling. So your car definitely, as we were sitting up in the booth, it looked like you definitely had the rocket on the short end of the stick. But as the race progressed, you actually had a long end rocket too. So I mean, at which point did you? What was your difference? Did you decide? What did you decide to sacrifice? Did you sacrifice tire wear and handling for fuel consumption? Because I mean, you were out front, so you know you were consuming more fuel than everybody else. But yeah, what were the key decisions that you made on those?
It was really, getting a gap to the person behind me, and then just managing that gap. And I was just able to manage the gap, keep my tires on it, and then the gap just kind of grew. And I know Jeffrey was trying to go up through the field, so it was kind of like, they were battling behind me, trying to make sure they kept their position. They had to deal with dirty air, and I think I just made better adjustments before the race because I could just pretty much go flat out for the first 10 laps and not worry about handling at all.
Yeah, I could only imagine the reaction on your face there with 3 to go and that caution coming out because of the incidental contact between the 7 and the 24. So at that point, what was going through your mind, and what decisions were you going to make to put that put your car, the 92 car, in the winner circle?
Yeah, I was surprised the only caution for an incident all day. It caught me off guard, and yeah, it pretty much was just put 4 tires on it, filled up with fuel, make sure the handling is as good as it possibly can be, and just send it. The track's wide enough; no one uses the bottom groove really in 1 and 2. I felt pretty confident that no matter what, if I got stuck behind someone that stayed out or someone that took 2 tires, I could use the bottom there in 1 and 2, and I could maintain side by side with them going into 3 to get that lower preferred line into 3.
Yeah, well, that did result in a 4-wide dash for the cash there. Congratulations to you, as you were the one that actually came out on top. So thank you for your time there. But next week, it looks like we're going to be kind of ending a series and headed into another one. But we got some road courses in our future there. So what are you thinking about that?
Sonoma's probably my worst road courses. I'm usually pretty good, and I like running them. But yeah, Sonoma last year I was not very good at. Looking forward to it. Got some things to figure out to get some speed there, as far as what I'm doing with my line. But I'm sure I'll be up to speed by the time the race comes around.
Well, Roger that. We'll be looking forward to it. And once again, congratulations to you and your team for a dominating performance here tonight at Gateway. Wow, hats off to you for everything that you guys did. And I'm going to turn it on back over to you, Nolan.
We do have one more to talk to before we end things up for tonight. We'll see if we can't get a hold of Joseph Lester, your runner-up at the end of the night. And I have to say, Joseph, we were kind of wondering what the heck was he thinking when you went for that no-tire strategy, but it ended up paying off because you finished second place after all. Why don't you walk us through what the thought process was on that strategy there?
Well, man, I honestly didn't even mean to. I didn't know pit road was open, so I just stuck with it, and there was also the chance I won. So I came close. It was fun.
And we've gotten kind of the view of what the last lap looked like from a lot of different drivers. You are right in the middle of that 4Y melee there. Why don't you walk us through what you saw, seeing as you were the one being swarmed from all sides?
Well, I got in the brakes and it just snapped loose like it had been all night long, and basically, I just held my brake and I think I saved it and held my line through that, but not sure what happened. It was definitely tight.
Well, glad that you were glad that you were still able to make it through that in one piece. And well, I guess before I let you go, then anybody you'd like to shout out for that machine as you get yourself one of your first podiums in the ISCA.
I would like to thank Money House Graphics for my paint scheme. I'd like to thank Josh Ward and everybody over at Cyclone for helping me get this thing tuned in. And yeah, just Austin Story for making the scheme. And yeah.
I'm glad that you're able to join us here tonight. Hopefully, we'll be seeing you doing one better in the races coming forward.
Oh yeah, for sure. See y'all next week.
And well, with that, that's about all the time we're going to have for not just one night, but for one season. Well, I want to thank everybody, of course, for taking the time, as always, to tune in for the iRacing Stock Car Association ButtKicker Cup Series. We'll see you all next week when we go racing for the Super Cup Series season for Sonoma, as the regular Cup Series takes their usual one-week break. But for now, we leave the Worldwide Technology Raceway from Madison, Illinois, where Matt DeCiani is a first-time ISCA champion.